Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I know a lot of friends are in the audience, so thank you so much. And all of you are here tonight, so you're all friends of ours.
That's right, because you're here and you paid. Okay.
That's Al, keeping it real.
There you go. So you see,
Yes.
you're real friends, not like those Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Whatever the
We have
heck
too
that-
many of those,
That's
right?
right. So I am so excited about this book
you,
because
Al.
as long as I've known you, we always talk about cooking.
Yes. Because I get a lot of my cues from Al.
Yeah.
Al is the best home cook.
Well, I like to burn a pan or two, as my grandmother used to say. And you've always cooked, and you're so close to your mom, who was a great cook as well. What was the impetus to actually do a cookbook?
I think it was a lot of that. And to me, the title At Home with Natalie really is, this is a reflection of who I am. And a lot of that, I feel, is a journey through food. I'm Latin, so if anybody Latino in the audience, we live through our...
Let's hear it for the Latino.
Latino audience. We live through our celebrations and through our feasts. And I grew up since I was about 4 or 5 years old, standing by my mom's coattails and just wanting to help her. And I'm one of 3 girls. I'm the middle, if you couldn't tell. Middle children, they get a bad rap. But yeah, so it was always one of these things where I watched my mom, I learned through osmosis. So I've loved to cook. To me, the importance of it, though, really is sort of honoring my family.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these recipes are recipes from my years living overseas. My dad was in the Air Force as well, so I lived in Panama, Brazil, Spain. So everywhere I've lived, there's a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of taste and culture from those places, because I feel like you don't really get to know people until you've sat down at the dinner table with them and you've broken bread with them. And that's what home means to me. Living all over the world and having experienced so many different cultures and traveling as a journalist with the Today Show, we're so blessed that we get a chance to experience incredible places. And if I can sit down and have a meal wherever I am and learn from the people that I'm talking to, that to me is sort of a window into their soul. Mm-hmm. Food to me is sort of that, and I know you're the same way.
Yeah, I love nothing fancy, and that's what's great about the recipes in this book. It's not going to take you 8 hours to do stuff and all this equipment and things. Did you work hard at keeping it simple?
I did. I think that was the primary goal, was to simplify. In fact, as part of the title, simple recipes, and healthy was another thing, because a lot of the foods that I like to cook and some of those comfort foods can be not so healthy. So health and wellness have always been sort of my passions, as you know. And so I found
Natalie's a cyborg. Yeah. If you've ever, I remember we ran a race together, and run is a relative term. When I ran a race, my daughter said to me, "Dad, what did the snail say on the turtle's back?" I said, "I don't know. What, sweetie?" Whee! And that kind of is the difference between. But you really practice what you preach when it comes to health.
I do, and I think and that's the other goal is it doesn't take a lot, I think, to put a healthy meal together. So part of the goal was to show people that, hey, I'm a working parent, I'm multitasking like everybody else, I'm pulled in so many different directions, but yet, you can pull it off at least 2 or 3 times a week. You can sit down as a family and do this if you make that effort. And so, I hope it gives people an opportunity to try new things, try new recipes, but also experience a little bit of the food journey that I went on, having lived in these different parts of the world.
A lot of people have smaller kids, young kids. Your boys are getting older now. But part of the problem when you're trying to cook is you've got kids who are finicky eaters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know about that.
How
you mean my white food only child? He's the chicken nuggets, French fries, rice. That's about it. But yeah, I think that's the hardest part. And I'm not going to lie. Like, I've tried with him. But Josh, my oldest, is a great taste tester. So he was great. And my husband was fantastic. But there is a whole chapter in the book about, family favorites. And it is the easier, fun things that everybody loves, like chicken nuggets, but healthier chicken nuggets. There are a lot of things in there that I think hopefully people will enjoy, and their kids will like it too.
Like today on the Today Show, you cooked for us in the 8 o'clock hour, and I was kind of you led off with a red meat dish with a steak.
A grilled chimichurri soy steak, yes, which is delicious. It's a little bit of the Argentinian meets my Brazilian influence and inspiration. And my sons love that. They're big steak eaters. So that I have no problem getting them to eat red meat. But I also think what's great is I have a couple vegetarian friends in here too, and they actually inspired me to find new recipes and to find ways to make different things. And so many vegans, and of course, living in California, the kale capital of the world, it's a lot of gluten-free and everything else. So I've definitely, and being that person that I am, the cyborg, as you say, I like to find ways to challenge myself. And I think, finding different ways to incorporate grains and proteins and vegetables, that's the hard part, I think, is finding new ways to make them taste different.
What food trend annoys you right now? I mean, because
I'm so over the kale trend.
Are you over the kale?
Well, I mean, I do love kale.
You like the kale?
I like the kale.
You have a love-hate with the kale.
What's your hang up with food?
Well, I think it's past now, but I think it's safe to say I was getting tired of going to restaurants where everything was foam.
Oh, yes.
The foam.
We went to a restaurant once in
Yes.
LA.
Yeah.
And I was like, when's the real food coming?
What is this?
It was everything was just psh, it was like a science experiment.
Yeah, there's foam and there's little things and it's
Spuma.
like, come on.
Spuma.
What is that?
It's true. That to me is not good home cooking. It's hard to do that. I admire people who spend hours trying to figure out the complex chemical interactions between food, but I mean, I need a meal.
I know. Just come on. Just slap it down there. How have your tastes changed over the years?
I would say I think I'm eating a lot less red meat, and I'm eating a lot less protein in general. I think I'm less meat and animal proteins, and I think this trend this is what everybody's doing now, the vegetarian, and trying to incorporate a little more vegan here and there. So it's hard. I mean, I think the vegan thing is very hard for me to do.
Yeah.
Because I do love my dairy, but I love my cheese, especially with my wine.
But wine is vegan, isn't it?
That's the best. Yes. When somebody tells me wine is not allowed, there's no diet that should not include wine. I'm sorry.
I think that's just part of life.
Yes.
It is.
You have to enjoy the finer things in life.
Do you sometimes get annoyed when you're in LA?
Yeah.
The whole when you're having a dinner party, you've got to cater to, like in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, you might get a vegan here or there, but for the most part, everybody eats everything.
Do you remember L.A. Story and Sarah Jessica Parker when she orders her coffee? I have a half calf to a decaf calf with a twisted lime.
Yeah.
And he's like, and what's your name? Sandy, with the little star in the eye on the top. I was like, that could be LA. Yeah,
'cause in
it
LA,
definitely, you go around the
all
table.
these people who are different foods and problems and issues.
Yes.
Dinner's not supposed to be an issue.
It's true. But you know what? New York is like that too, though. Don't you find that?
I don't know those New Yorkers.
This is the East Coast, West Coast. They're not hanging in your kitchen.
They're not coming to my house. I had a guy once come in, and I had made this fantastic, 3-inch bone-in ribeye on my grill in the backyard, and the guy asked for ketchup.
Oh.
And I said, I'm sorry, but no. He goes, I'm a guest in your home. I said, not for long.
Are you one of those, if you say, I want it well done, though, you will not do it?
No, I won't.
See?
No.
See, I have a problem with your type.
Well, I don't care.
I was going to say, in France, my one bad
We're not
experience,
in France.
My one bad experience as a little kid
is
they kept bringing them, it was rare.
Right.
And I'm talking blue rare, bleeding on the plate. I was like.
Full Pittsburgh.
I couldn't. I was like, I can't. And so my dad had them send it back. And then finally, the waiter came out and he's like, I'm so sorry. The chef, this was 3 times that the meat went back. The waiter came out and was like, the chef refuses to do this to a beautiful piece of meat. So he takes the meat and he's like, I will do it for you. And so the waiter went back and
cooked it?
A little bit more, but it's still.
You sounded a little Italian.
I don't know. I was an Italian friend. You're the guy with the accents. By the way, Al, give us the little Irish accent that you have.
Well, I tell you, lass, I can't help it. Anyway.
Al can play any part. I'm not, as you know.
In fact, I'm the
He's so
Black
talented.
Irish. Sorry.
Al is amazing. He may have a role on Broadway soon.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. To be continued.
So, when you started writing the book,
Yeah.
was it because when I wrote my first cookbook,
And you've written a lot of books, 11 books now.
well, they're mostly coloring books, but that's a, but it's hard to write a cookbook. It's not as easy as people think.
It's so true, because I think from the time I pitched it about 5 years ago.
Wow.
And then all the transitions in my life and moving, and I was writing the book as I was in the process of moving, not stressful at all, from East Coast to West Coast. And yeah, I mean, of course, you know, there's the recipe testing and you know that you've got to time things, but I'm one of these intuitive cooks that I like to just experiment, and okay, this flavor will go great with this, and let me add some more of this. So to have to do the same recipe 3 times over, and I did have a great recipe tester, Ann Volklein, who helped me test everything and helped me, edit as we went along. But it is one of those things people don't tell you. It takes a lot of work. Next time, I mean, by the way, Al's new book, tons of research went into this too. So that's not any easier.
I know, but if nobody
Yes.
reading my book could die of food poisoning.
Thanks, Al.
I'm just saying, if you didn't have a recipe tester, which you did, there are a lot of cookbooks that they don't test the recipe.
Oh yeah, no, you have to test. You
Yeah,
have to. I don't care who you are. I mean, it's.
I know, there's somebody we
there's
know.
someone we know. We do know. Who shall not be named.
That's right. And the recipes aren't always tested. And so anyway.
And they do not work out when you try to make them at home, because I know.
Well, I was gonna. Were there any recipes that you liked that you thought, and then when you went to test them, they didn't make the book because they didn't actually stand up?
I think it was anything that got a little too complicated, or maybe too many ingredients that were foreign ingredients. If there was anything like that, if it went beyond 1 page of ingredients, I was like, okay, that's, we got to simplify. The whole idea is simple, healthy recipes from my home kitchen to yours. So that was the goal. So I think there were a couple of things that we thought about, but then I was like, it seems like I'm trying too hard, might be a little too fancy. Let's keep it to what it is. This is supposed to be an at-home cookbook. So hopefully people will dig into it that way and try some of the things. There's a lot of Latin food in the book, because being Puerto Rican and Brazilian, there's a lot of Brazilian and Portuguese food in there, and as well as French and Greek. Chinese, just from places that I've been to.
I was going to say, when you in your travels, I mean, look, there were your travels as a kid with your dad as a member of the military, but then your travels for work.
Yeah.
What do those stand out? The work travels as far as your food.
I'll never forget. Dubai. Dubai is Las Vegas on steroids. If you haven't been, it's incredible. It's beyond extreme everything. And just a really interesting, the influence of a little bit of Middle Eastern with Eastern cultures. It was very interesting to see how they infuse flavors there, and I loved that. But I would say, besides my years in Spain, which I think the Mediterranean in general, and Greece, when we went to cover the Greek Olympics, I mean, how many great meals where they just bring you the fish to the table and say, pick your fish. And you're like, wait, the one with the eyeballs? I don't know that I want to eat that guy. He looks too happy. But I mean, and the tomatoes taste like fruit.
Yeah.
So I would say sort of the Mediterranean diet was my diet.
That's one of the greatest things about we are blessed with this job. Our jobs is that we get to travel and not only experience cultures, but I mean, we've eaten some great meals.
Yes.
On the company
dime. What about
dime.
you? Yes, on the company dime is the key. What about you? What has been?
I remember we weren't expecting a lot out of Torino when we went to, everybody described it as the Detroit of Italy, and I don't mean that disparagingly against Detroit, but
they do have a lot of car manufacturing in Torino. There's the Fiat factory,
so it's
right?
which I own a Fiat, so there you have it. But we went, and it was the food was unbelievable.
Incredible.
And that was really my first time really drinking wine.
I was going to say, that was Barolo country too, which introduced me to a whole, unfortunately, very expensive. Barolo wines are beautiful, but
I think that's where you actually became a professional wine drinker.
I think so. I perfected my skills. Although it all goes back to my childhood in Spain, where my parents would allow me a little bit here and there. You know, when in Spain.
That's the saying.
Mario and Penny, he knows them well.
Yeah, you got to see some of Natalie's dad's home movies.
Oh my gosh.
They're the best.
Oh,
What,
so fun.
How proud is your mom of you, with this book?
You know, and that was really the goal, is to honor my family. And so many of these recipes are hand-me-downs. And so I was at a wedding this weekend with them, and she was like, Natalie, this is like, it makes my heart so proud. And you know, I think for them, it's the ultimate paying homage to our cultures. Mm-hmm. And I told Hoda today, I was on her radio show, her mom is an incredible cook, makes the best baklava ever. Yes. And I've told Hoda a couple times now, you gotta learn that recipe, because that's one thing you will always have that will remind you of your mom. Yeah. Thank goodness her mom's in great health, Sammy's incredible. But I'm like, it's that one thing that you can pass on, and your family's always gonna have these memories. To me, food equals memories. Yep. And I've so many of the dishes and recipes in the book come from childhood memories and just trying to recreate some of those memories. So writing the book was a little bit of a journey down memory lane. When you look back, and I know when my mom used to make the greatest mac and cheese, mm-hmm. And then I remember she was getting up there a little bit. I remember I said to my sister, I said, "Didn't this used to taste a little better?" and, Ouch! Harsh critic.
No, but my mother said, "You goes, I realized you're not worth that effort." This is what I grew up with.
So what have you made of your moms that you've made?
The mac and cheese. The mac and cheese. We're Caribbean, so peas and rice.
Nice.
Or Hop and John. Cornbread. Everything that my mother would make, around the holidays especially, or a special occasion. That was to me one of the touchstones.
You have her. Is it her skillet?
I have her cast iron skillet.
And it's
seasoned. I mean, it's one of those moments. Every time I take it out, I think about her. She's been gone a few years now, but mm-hmm. I always remember that skillet. And so I agree with you. Yeah. This is the gift. And there's going to be something that Josh and Luke make. For
I don't know about that.
I think so. I think so.
I hope so. I mean, I think Josh is more interested in cooking than Luke. So, mm-hmm. Yeah, here's to hoping.
What does he make?
Josh, he makes eggs.
So?
Pancakes, baked goods.
He'll never go hungry.
He'll be the baker.
Hey, a nice omelet, a frittata.
Right. Meanwhile, you have a daughter who's a cook.
My oldest girl is a cook at Google.
Yes.
So every time you click, thank you for paying for her. It's really fantastic. How did you decide? I mean, you have to amass this number of recipes. Mm-hmm. How did you decide what made it and what didn't?
Again, simplicity was one of them. I think. Did this have a significance to me? Mm-hmm. And then also, some things I don't cook as often, but yet, like pork, I don't eat a lot of it, but my publisher who's here said, you might want to have a little more pork in there. I was like, okay.
Can't go wrong with pork.
But yes, no, I do. I love like lean loin. And so I think for me, it was trying to find ways to make it the way I would eat it. Mm-hmm. So I did do that. And I think, in terms of figuring out what didn't make the cut, it really came down to, is this something that either means something to me, or is it something that I could really see myself eating over and over again? These are recipes, a lot of them are recipes that I make personally, day in and day out. So they're things that I do over and over again.
That I was going to ask you, I mean, I've known you since 2006 here, and you've been in New York, and I mean, a lot of people I don't think know that you didn't start in television. I mean, your background was more of a business background.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, out of college, even though in college I was a journalism major and I had internships, I couldn't find a paying job in journalism. So I actually went into banking for 2 years at Chemical Bank, and then it became Chase Manhattan. But I knew that ultimately my heart and my passion was going to take me back to journalism. And so that was a 2-year program. And at the end, you could choose to stay in finance and go into another part of the bank, or go to business school. And I was like, okay, here's my exit strategy. Time to go find the job that I'm really going to love. And for me, it goes back to growing up as an Air Force brat, moving every couple of years. I had to do something that allowed me those opportunities to see the world, meet great people, tell good stories. I mean, that's journalism, right? I mean, it's what we do.
Yeah, and so you're based on the East Coast, and as you got married, and you had your family. Do you find you cook differently on the West Coast as opposed to the East Coast?
Well, everything is a little bit fresher, maybe because it's not being shipped cross country. Organic really is like from the farm. So I shop a lot we have a great farmer's market on the weekends. So I go there and I shop there and buy straight from the farm. And I think the flavors are just brighter, fresher. So I use that as my inspiration a lot. And I think my kids, their palates have also expanded. I mean, Josh was the pickiest kid growing up. And then all of a sudden we move out to California, he's eating avocados, guacamole. He's like, sushi, yeah, bring it on. Oh, I want the real weird sushi, like the stuff that like sea urchin. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Stuff that could kill you.
He's doing it. So, yeah.
So you're out in California, and look, I joked about you being a cyborg, but you're a good, healthy, athletic person. Your kids are into sports.
Yeah.
Your husband Joe is athletic. I mean, they really are disgusting.
Thanks, Al. Thanks, Al.
No, it's so darn healthy. But when you want to kind of let loose a little bit, besides drinking, what's your go-to food to just splurge and go a little nutty?
Oh, gosh. I mean, wine.
Again.
But we said that. Cheese, a lot of bread, carbs. I'm
Carbs?
like a carbaholic. Yeah, carbs. Anything with starch and sauce and lots of pasta. I love a great fresh pasta.
Okay, so let's take it one step further. You've killed a guy. You've been convicted.
Really okay.
You're on death row.
Okay, my last meal.
Your last meal.
We're down to the last meal.
Down to the last meal. What's your last meal?
New York pizza. Since I've been to LA, I honestly have to say that has been the biggest disappointment. I cannot find a good pizza place.
Really?
No. I'm talking, I just
been
want Ray's pizza. I'm like, isn't that the best pizza in New York?
But which Ray?
the 20th Street Ray. I don't know. There's not like a Patsy's Pizza. I'm waiting. I mean, there are a couple good places, but
Mozza?
that's good. But the wait to get in, you got to know somebody. I know Al. Pizzana, there's a new place. But it is hard. It's hard to find just a place that delivers really great pizza. That's more it. Yeah. Like my kids, they're like, Miss Pizza.
Good pizza. Okay.
Good pizza.
And what about dessert? What would be your?
Cheesecake. If I'm gonna stick with it, New York cheesecake. Yes.
Do they do cheesecake in LA?
They do, but it's probably
made out of
with
tofu.
kale.
A kale crust with tofu.
Kind of takes the fun out of it, right? What about you? Last meal?
It would be. I think it would be a bone-in ribeye, grilled or roasted broccolini. I don't know. I don't know. Is broccolini new? I don't know. I've just started seeing it. At first, I just thought
broccoli.
this is really skinny
It's like
broccoli.
tortellini.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like emaciated broccoli. But
baby.
Yeah. But I'm great. I'm killing baby vegetables. But I like roasted broccolini. some good steak fries, and for dessert, a really great warm apple cobbler with some vanilla ice
Is everybody hungry? Who ate here tonight?
On top.
Good,
That would be
good. Sorry.
the last meal. So it'd be worth killing somebody for.
Here's a tip. Al, tell us, everybody, if you fly a lot, Al never turns down the ice cream.
No,
Why?
I don't. My theory, look, I flying for work. We're very lucky we get to fly first class. So usually, especially if you're going to LA or back, they offer you an ice cream sundae. And my feeling is, if this thing goes down,
It's true.
I passed on the ice cream sundae and the hot fudge. I'm not,
Every time I turn down the ice cream cart, I'm like, Al would be shaking his head.
That's
right
right, come
now.
on. No, oh, and you know what? I'll have that fresh fruit. Screw you. Oh,
And the cheese platter while you're at
that's
it.
right. You know what? Somebody's not going to, there's some healthy person behind me. They're not going to have, just let me have
That'd
the
be
cheese
me. You could have my-
and the ice cream. Come on.
But you eat healthy.
I try to.
You're
I mean,
very healthy.
My kids,
eater.
my wife falls into the Natalie
Cyborg category. She does.
She's always she keeps posting these videos on Instagram of her running. I said, you look like you're a hostage who just escaped. It's like, nobody looks happy running.
Is she training for something?
No,
Yeah,
she's not
just-
training. That's like, why are you running? But
Maybe she's running from you.
She's running from me. She's trying to escape, But I've got my own version of the Secret Service that drags her back. Look, I believe that you cook well and
Right.
you use great ingredients, which you strive in this.
Definitely.
You really stress in the book.
Yes.
That goodness in, goodness out.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I was talking this morning to somebody about the book, and I was like, the one vacation I went on where it was like, I think we went to Rome, and it was like pasta every night, and then just followed by delicious desserts. I'm like, for sure, I'm coming back 5 or 10 pounds heavier. I actually lost weight, and the lesson is that the best ingredients. It's fresh pasta, nothing's processed, and that's truly. I mean, not like we can eat like that every day,
Sure.
but the more you attempt to eat that way, it is cleaner, and I think your body just digests it much better.
Mm-hmm. Who's your, if you were going to emulate any one chef, is there anybody you could put your finger on?
Well, Jada's a good friend of ours, and and I think she's a very, she cooks very simply in that same way with healthy ingredients, and I always find, she's just so easy and relatable in her approach to food. So for me, it really is that. And she's the same, cooking for a daughter who, probably not as picky as my kids. Definitely has her, her daughter Jade is brilliant.
Yep.
She's already cooking in the kitchen. But yeah, I would say, I love Ina. She's a goddess.
Yes.
Yes. What about
Truly.
you?
I like Bobby Flay.
Yes.
He's
a master.
Marcus Samuelson is another,
Brilliant.
who's a terrific guy and a great chef.
There's a guy named Al Roker who has how many cookbooks?
2.
Great cookbooks.
2. But I really do believe in simplicity.
Yeah.
Just like I remember going to your backyard in Hoboken.
Yeah.
You had the great grill, and obviously, and that's the beauty of grilling. It's very simple and for the most part, relatively healthy because
Yes.
you're not putting any sauces or anything on.
If you're my husband, though, you are not a good griller. I have to be on him.
What? What do you mean?
He's one of these guys that okay, it's still not done. He walks away, has a glass of wine, and it's like 10 minutes later, have you checked the meat? Oh, you go back, and it's charred, which is not good for you.
No, that's bad. Charred is bad. Not good.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that about Joe.
Joe, he has to be monitored.
See, Natalie and I would have this conversation at work. I'd hear her on the phone with Joe because Joe was getting the kids out to school, and what do you? Oh, with cards? Is that what you?
Cards.
Or.
We got
I wasn't
cards.
sure
Questions.
Questions. Oh, they are writing
Oh.
down questions.
Okay.
I just saw that. See, guys are very much like your dog in that we see something, some sort
They're
of
waving you
motion,
down?
and we're squirrel.
That doesn't work with husbands, though. if you're trying to get them to listen to you, right?
Yeah. Well, no, that's our defense mechanism.
Squirrel.
Somebody must be saying something other than what my wife is saying. Please.
Deflection. Well, before we get to those questions, let's talk your book. This is number 11 for Al, The Ruthless Tides of the Tragic Epic of the Johnstown Flood. You have written, this is your second nonfiction.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
wow. They had them there and they come out here.
There. Great.
That's amazing.
Why? I mean, and this is, I mean, you look at one of the most, and it's still the deadliest natural disaster in the United States.
Yeah, it was
2,200 people killed, $17 million, and wiped out an entire town.
Yeah, a region of Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania. It's one of those. I mean, people still, you say the Great Johnstown Flood, and people have this notion about what happened, and it's really a tragic story of literally the one percenters who, back in the day, some of the titans of industry, including Andrew Carnegie, wanted a lavish, beautiful, serene getaway, and they decided, we should have a lake, and so they dammed up a river, and without going into it too deeply, they did not construct the dam correctly, and people were worried that someday this was going to give way. Oh, it can't give way, it won't give way, and of course it did give way, and 200 million tons of water came rushing down and wiped out 4 towns in the span of about 2 hours. And to this day, it led to the rise of a young woman by the name of Clara Barton, who had just formed an organization called the Red Cross.
Yeah.
And the Red Cross was tasked. It was the first major deployment of a civilian relief force in this country. So there's a lot of class warfare. There's a lot of talk about, and ironically, there are parallels to today.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because why is it important to look back in history? And it seems like you can make those same parallels to big weather events, natural disasters.
Exactly.
People warning you, this could happen.
And as we see a rollback of environmental protections, as we see a rollback of zoning requirements for wetlands and marshlands and coastal floodplains, we're going to see more of this happening. 60% of our population lives along the coast in the United States, and with rising ocean waters and more extreme weather events, we're going to have problems. And so that this is, I think, in a way, those who don't learn from history's mistakes are apt to repeat them.
Yeah. And why? I mean, you've written, as we said, cookbooks. You've written novels, fiction. These books. Where do you see how do you figure out what you want to write next?
I don't know. I just kind of, whatever strikes me. I love to read, and like yourself, a lot of what you do is to please your parents. Although mine are both gone now. For example, I wrote the murder mysteries because my mom was a big mystery reader, and I thought, let me do something to please her. And even as a kid, I used to love Sherlock Holmes, so I got to scratch that itch. I've always loved to cook, so we did the cookbooks. I'm a dad, and I've written about kids and parenting, and the most dangerous book though was the one I wrote with
your wife?
My wife Deborah, because
what did you learn about
well,
that process?
I learned. We decided to do it kind of he said, she said. We each had a chapter. Each chapter was a premise, and Deborah would write her part, and I would write my part. Oh. And what I realized is my wife didn't read my part.
It became a she said, she said?
Well, no, because when the printed galleys came back, she said, you know what? In a couple of these chapters, I come across as a little bit of a bitch.
Note to self, don't write a book with my husband.
Did you read the book? So that was, but we're still together. So that worked out pretty well.
How many years now?
We're going on 23
oh
years.
My gosh.
You bet.
Amazing.
As the old joke is, but 17 of them happy. No, anyway. So we've got some cards from you folks.
Yes,
some questions.
thank you.
We don't have any names with these, so don't worry about it. What's the one ingredient you can't live without?
One
Wine.
ingredient. Yeah, well, but that's like a side ingredient, right? But even so, that's definitely there. I would say probably butter. I love butter. I love me some butter. It's not so bad for you. People who want to put it down, bring the butter back.
Bring butter back.
It's better to have the full flavored butter. None of those,
Butter's better.
butters.
Butter
Yeah.
better.
Butter better. What about you?
Well, butter's.
You like bacon.
I like bacon. Bacon
yeah.
is, bacon is like butter. Bacon, it's bacon, and you can use it as a flavoring for many different things.
Yeah.
In a lot of households in the South, you had a bacon fat.
My mom cooks with bacon
Yeah.
fat all the time.
Yeah, they had a little
Yeah.
coffee can to the side, and you would put the bacon drippings in.
She makes her Brazilian rice with the bacon
Yeah,
fat,
the
and
bacon fat.
it just makes everything better.
There was a recipe in the New York Times cooking section this past winter for bacon ginger snap cookies.
Oh my gosh,
They
was it
were
good?
fantastic.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's right. I went through 6 pounds of bacon. This is a good question. How important is planning ahead?
Very important. I would say, if you can be a weekend warrior where you either figure out or plan, this is just going to make your life easier. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make a meal on the fly, because I think a lot of the things in the book, you can make a meal on the fly. I've got my clean out the fridge pasta, which was that. My husband's like, oh, let's do some pasta. And I was like, okay, let's see, I've got this vegetable, and I'm going to put this and this and this and this, and it's one of our staples now. But I do think, in order to be a little bit healthier about things, if you do have an opportunity to be inspired by what you buy at a local farmer's market, that's how I kind of determine, okay, I'm going to buy these vegetables and I'll make my pesto for the week ahead, or I'll make my red sauce. I think it's easier for you in the long run if you plan ahead. Do you plan ahead?
I try to, and I try to have like certain staples in the pantry, in the cupboard. Like crushed tomatoes, pasta, canned tuna, good quality canned tuna, things like that. So that if you're in a bind, you can always make something, especially.
Do you make and freeze sometimes?
I do.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
And it drives Deborah crazy because of all the noise it makes. But I got this about 2 years ago. I got a vacuum sealer.
I got one of those too.
Oh, it's the greatest thing.
See, I never use mine.
Oh man, it's fantastic. I mean, you make double, especially like if you're doing a chili.
It's true.
You make a double thing of chili and you vacuum seal that. Sometimes I vacuum, just for fun, I vacuum seal one of the kids. See how long they'll keep. It's great.
It is handy though for like if you go to Costco and you want to get like the big packs of the steaks, the fillets, to vacuum seal.
Who goes to
your portion.
Costco? You or Joe?
Me.
Yeah.
No.
No, Joe
Me.
doesn't. You go.
Yeah. Although LA, there's not a Costco near me, so yeah. So Trader Joe's.
See, I love going to the Costco. It's
The Costco.
The Costco or the BJ's, either one. You go and we get into a fight because.
But are you getting 10 things of toilet paper
Yes.
every time you go?
We've had yes.
We're in a New York City, but this is a big fight in my house too, because my husband is the same. He's like, I will go. I'm like the bulk shopper, and I will save. I think I'm saving, and he's like, you just spent $600 on what? Toothpaste and toilet paper to last you a lifetime.
Hey, you know what? Toilet paper doesn't go bad.
And it never runs out. That's
And
for
never.
sure.
We got into a fight about that,
Yeah.
Deborah and I said, you know what? Okay, fine.
Is this in the book?
It is in the book. I said, fine. I'm not going to buy any. And then, sure enough, about 3 months later, I heard, where's the toilet paper? Sorry, we're out. But you've got the paper in there. What's the most complicated dish you make?
Most complicated dish. Probably, there's, Brazilian feijoada, which I don't make.
Now, what is that?
Brazilian feijoada is black beans. And it's a black bean, but in Brazil, it's made with a lot of pork parts and bits. Lots of bits.
Pork. What's the
Bits.
difference between pork parts and bits?
Do you know what bits I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
We're talking like the hoof bits and the
Oh.
this bit. Yeah, so I don't do that. I don't make it that way.
Probably hard to find that in L.A.
No, definitely not.
You go up to
so
the Whole
that's not in
Foods.
the book.
Let me have
Not-
some. Let me
don't
have some
worry.
pig hoof.
Look, I respect people who use every part of the animal,
Good.
though. I mean,
Tip
I think,
to tail.
yeah.
Snout to tail.
Yeah, they do snout to tail, and though the ears, I mean, I don't need to see an ear either, but I think there is a lot of, soak the beans, the black beans, but now with the crock pots and the pressure cookers, you can do all of that.
Do you have an Instant Pot?
I'm addicted to my Instapot.
I've held
I'm
out
one
on
of
the
those
Instapot.
people. You have one?
Yeah, no, I don't. I just got the Instagram,
Okay.
so I don't know.
You can. I'm not kidding. There are people who make cheesecake in the Instapot.
Really?
You can. The dessert thing. It's on Instagram. If you look up Instapot, there's so much Instapot love. You can saute. You can braise. You can steam. You can pressure cook. You can. I'm like an Instapot salesperson here. So.
Wow. What's your go-to Instapot recipe?
Probably my black beans.
There
yeah.
you go.
So it makes life much easier, and I don't put all those bits in there. It's
Well,
vegetables
maybe we've
instead.
answered this next question.
Yes.
What utensil and which pot pan can you not live without?
I think my cast iron skillet. Can't live without that. Dutch
Right.
oven also.
Yep.
And a good spatula. And good knives.
Yes.
But you don't need, and I forget, which chef was it who said you don't need like 20,000 knives.
You need 3 knives.
You need like a paring knife. You need a really good like butcher knife. And I would say you probably want the scissors for the poultry, shears. Yeah, but you don't need a whole drawer full of knives.
No, please, because then
yeah.
if there's a fight later. Anyway.
Back to the Costco.
There you go. Is there a trick to getting fish right?
Well, I think if you have the luxury of going to a fish market, great. If not, like go to your grocery store, ask when they make their fish deliveries. I know by me, the place that we get our fish from comes in on Tuesday. So I will buy on Tuesday, or I will wait till I go to the farmer's market on the weekend and it was caught like that Friday.
Sure.
So I think you just have to ask
Yeah.
and make sure that you're getting it as fresh as possible.
What's your favorite fish?
I would say cod or a good sea bass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
They just absorb flavors really well too.
Does salt get a bad rap?
Yes and no. I think we tend to oversalt foods here in the U.S. There's so many other seasonings that you can work with that are just as flavorful, if not better. I've been using a lot more spice, I think, just in general, maybe being out in California, chili blends and a little bit of lime. And a zest of salt. I don't think you need to my youngest, Luke, is known for this. Like they'll serve a plate of pasta and he'll just take the salt shaker and I'm like, have you even tried it? He's like, no. And I'm like, well, try it first. He just puts the whole shaker on it. What do you think? I mean, do you get do you oversalt?
I don't think I oversalt. I like to, like when I make a steak, it's just salt and pepper, and
That's the best kind of steak there is.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't, but or I like a nice flake sea salt to finish something after you've cooked it, like a sea bass or something.
Nothing like a good Himalayan sea
Yeah,
salt too on
exactly.
pasta. Yeah.
Or on caramel, the sea
Or
salt.
on bread.
Yeah. Oh, now this is an interesting one.
Okay.
If you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, anyone?
Yeah.
Well, Jesus. I mean, I guess that's everybody.
Well, especially if you invite a crowd. One loaf of bread, a couple of fish.
Makes it.
Take care of the whole room.
Maybe Princess Diana too would be. Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just thinking royal wedding coming up, and I would just love to know, how proud she is. I don't know. As a mom,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting.
What about you? Hey, Martin Luther King.
I was just going to say
Right,
Dr.
yes.
Martin Luther King, just to get his take on where we are right now.
And how if we've come
Yeah.
as far as he would have liked,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
would be no.
I think that's a safe answer. Yes.
Yeah.
And then here's a question. Oh, this is a statement. Reminder,
Statement.
At Home with Natalie is available for sale, and Natalie will be signing copies after the talk.
And I should point out, Al's book
Is not
coming out.
available yet.
It's coming out, but May 22nd.
May 22nd. May 22nd. While you're cooking in the kitchen with Natalie's cookbook, you can be reading my book.
do you ever do the audiobook versions? Have you done that?
I didn't do it for this. Deborah
Yes.
and I did our audiobook, and one chapter is from the point of view of our kids.
And did
They
voice
did it.
Wow.
And it was funny. My son Nick, who he's got some learning issues, but he went through, and before we started to read, he goes, "Leela has more lines than me." All right, that's my
very
boy.
smart kid.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then Leela wanted to know if she was getting paid.
There's a theme here.
Yeah,
I sense a theme.
I'm thinking, yeah, but gee, and maybe you could pay me back for your upcoming college education.
And
we
she's
won't
now
get
in
into that.
Paris.
She's
so-
in Paris. She's doing her
Living
freshman
the
year in
good
Paris.
life.
Yes, and I'm going to send her this cookbook.
Fantastic.
Because they live in an apartment, so they're cooking.
Good.
Yeah. So.
Along with all your cookbooks.
Well, but this is not about me.
But it
What's
is
the
now.
What's the one thing you want people to take away from this book?
I just want people to spend a little more time with the ones they love and having a good meal, good conversation. To me, food always leads to great conversations and just great memories. Enjoy the memories you create with each other. To me, this book really is about creating those moments and memories in your life that they far outlast anything else. Jobs, life changes, wherever you are in life, it's the people in your life. And I know a lot of them are in this crowd, so I thank you so much for your support and your love. It means a lot to know that I've created so many memories with people that they want to be here to be a part of this. So I thank them.
All right, and we thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to have Natalie sign
Yes.
some books now.
May 22nd for Al. Thank you, my dear friend.
Oh,
That was
thank you.
awesome.